These are the only 3 carbon steel pan brands still forged in America, priced from $50 to over $300. And the story of how they got here is a story about fire, tariffs, disappearing supply chains, and the stubborn refusal to let a craft die. Carbon steel cookware has been a staple in professional kitchens for nearly 2 centuries. The French practically invented the category. De Buyer, Matfer Bourgeat. These companies have been hammering out pans since the 1800s, supplying chefs across Europe and eventually the world. But here in the United States, carbon steel manufacturing has taken a very different path. While France was perfecting its ironwork traditions, America was busy outsourcing its steel industry overseas. China now produces nearly half the world's steel supply, and unlike American steel, it is not subject to the same rigorous testing and safety standards. That cost difference pushed manufacturer after manufacturer to move production abroad, and as they left, the domestic suppliers who provided raw materials to cookware makers simply closed up shop. There were not enough customers left to keep their doors open. So today, if you want a carbon steel pan that's actually forged on American soil, you've got 3 real options. Let's talk about each of them. The first is Lodge cast iron, and they've been here longer than almost anyone. In 1896, a man named Joseph Lodge founded the Blacklock Foundry in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. The company made cast iron products and found early success. Then, in May of 1910, a fire tore through the foundry and destroyed everything. Most people would have walked away. Joseph Lodge didn't. 3 months later, just 3 months, he rebuilt down the road under a new name, Lodge Cast Iron. That company has never left South Pittsburgh. It's the oldest and longest-running family-owned cookware foundry in the United States. Now, Lodge is best known for cast iron, obviously. But in 2013, they did something significant. They launched a full line of seasoned carbon steel pans, manufactured right there in their Tennessee facility. Unlike their cast iron, which gets poured into sand molds, the carbon steel products are formed by turning and stamping steel sheets at 2.5 millimeter gauge thickness, making them lighter and thinner with excellent heat conductivity. Their factory seasoning process uses grapeseed oil applied at high temperature to create that initial non-stick surface. In 2017, Lodge doubled down on domestic production by opening a second foundry, 127,000 square feet of additional manufacturing space, increasing their capacity by 75%. And here's what makes Lodge remarkable in this conversation. Their 12-inch carbon steel skillet costs $49.95. That's it. In a market where artisan pans regularly clear $300, Lodge is making American-manufactured carbon steel accessible to basically everyone. They've never outsourced production overseas. Every single piece comes out of South Pittsburgh. The second brand takes us to Charleston, South Carolina, and the story starts with a sound. The sound of hammers. Smithey Ironware was founded in 2015 by Isaac Morton, a man who had become obsessed with antique cast iron cookware. He had handled 100-year-old pieces and was blown away by how much better this 100-year-old cookware was versus much of what is on the market today. So Morton set out to recreate that quality. The company started with cast iron, crafting smooth, polished pieces on an old naval base in Charleston. Then in 2018, something happened almost by accident. Right next door to Smithey's workshop, a group of blacksmiths at Robert Thomas Iron Design were pounding away every single day. Will Copenhaver, Smithey's VP of Marketing, put it simply, we were listening to the blacksmiths next door, pounding away every day, all day, so we just decided to have them partner with us to make carbon steel cookware. And that partnership produced something extraordinary. Smithey's carbon steel pans are hand-forged in the most literal sense. A blacksmith takes a rod of steel, puts it into a screaming hot forge, and hammers it into shape at 3 millimeters thickness for superior heat retention. Each pan takes roughly 8 hours to produce, going through machine grinding, hand polishing, and seasoning with flaxseed oil for a durable finish. No two pieces are exactly alike. Eric Duisberg from Robert Thomas Iron Design explained their philosophy. We intentionally don't take labor out of it because we want people's hands on it. That's what makes the pans we produce for them have the look and feel they do. Food and Wine magazine called them stunning pieces of cookware that are just waiting to become family heirlooms. But that craftsmanship comes at a price. Smithey's 12-inch carbon steel skillet runs $285. Their 9-inch farmhouse skillet is $200. These aren't impulse purchases. They're investments. The third brand takes us about as far from a factory floor as you can possibly get. Northeast Oregon, the Oregon Trail, a place called Homestead Springs Farm and Forge. Northwest Skillet Company is one man. His name is Peter Clark, and he's the sole craftsman behind every single pan that leaves his shop. He combines traditional blacksmithing with metal spinning techniques to create carbon steel cookware that America's Test Kitchen designated as their upgrade pick and top artisan option. They called it gorgeous, incredibly durable, and noted that it browns and releases food especially well. That recognition from America's Test Kitchen brought a flood of new attention. And here's where the tension of small batch American manufacturing becomes painfully clear. Peter Clark and his small team can only make so many pans. Stock stays limited. Wait times are real, but as Northwest Skillet Company puts it, each piece gets made with dedication and pride, and they believe it's worth the wait. Their 12-inch skillet runs over $300, putting it at the top of the price range. But you're not just buying a pan. You're buying the work of one man's hands in a forge on the Oregon Trail. Now, I should mention there are a handful of other small American operations forging carbon steel. Lockhart Iron Works in Logan, Ohio, Copper State Forge in Goodyear, Arizona, using 18th century blacksmithing techniques, Santa Barbara Forge in California, which has been shaping raw steel for over a decade. And worth noting is Volrare, the Wisconsin-based manufacturer that produces commercial-grade carbon steel for professional kitchens nationwide. These are genuine craftspeople doing real work. But in terms of scale, recognition, and availability, Lodge, Smithey, and Northwest Skillet are the three names that define American-made carbon steel right now. And the landscape is only getting more complicated. In March 2025, 25% tariffs hit all steel and aluminum imports. By June, those tariffs jumped to 50%. For any manufacturer still trying to source materials domestically, the math becomes brutal. Heritage Steel, another American cookware maker, laid it out plainly. The vendors who used to supply cladded steel blanks in the U.S. all exited that business about 5 years ago. There is, as far as they know, no U.S.-based vendor left. The supply chain for domestic cookware steel has essentially collapsed. So what you're looking at when you look at these three brands isn't just cookware. It's a snapshot of American manufacturing at a crossroads. Lodge represents the factory model, affordable, scalable, rooted in over a century of continuous production in one small Tennessee town. Smithey represents the artisan revival, premium, handcrafted, born from a chance encounter with blacksmiths next door. And Northwest Skillet Company represents the individual craftsman, one person, one forge, making something exceptional in limited quantities. Here's what's worth sitting with. America's Test Kitchen noted that artisan pans didn't perform significantly better than factory-made favorites from a purely practical standpoint. You don't need to spend $300 to cook a great steak. A $50 Lodge will sear beautifully. But performance isn't the whole story. These pans carry something that can't be measured in Browning tests. The weight of a tradition that nearly disappeared. kept alive by people who chose the harder path. Whether American carbon steel manufacturing grows from here or stays this small depends on something bigger than cookware. It depends on whether the supply chains rebuild, whether the economics ever make sense again, and whether enough people care about where their tools come from to keep these forges burning. The future of the supply chain remains in our hands.